Right everyone, how we doing? Welcome to Iron Grit Strength. Now, I've touched on it before, I'm going to touch on it again. I'm going to reinvigorate what is Iron Grit Strength. Essentially at the moment it is my online coaching. The plan is Iron Grit Strength will become a gym, but for now it's just the brand. It's my name, it's my style of coaching, and I'm going to I'm going to start putting up videos galore. So sooner or later I'm going to end up in your algorithm, and hopefully you're going to give it a watch and you're going to like what you're going to see. And if you're interested in getting some coaching, you might give me a nod. I'll go into that later, but for now, as the video suggests, training in a small space. Now, that is what I do. I do not go to a gym. I can't afford to. I've got majority equipment what I need. I've got a pretty good setup for strongman training at home. I've got a barbell and dumbbells. I have got these smaller sort of like loadable dumbbells, and I've got some fat grip handles which I will put on these if I'm trying to mimic like a monster dumbbell, allow for the thickness change. I have got a bench. I have got an axle barbell, which was actually a 6-foot bit of scaffolding pole which I bought. That's a DIY technique for you. I will put a video about that as well. I got a log when there was a log going cheap, and I got some sandbags. So on average I've got roughly enough for what I need. Obviously event depending. You know, I don't have like a Viking press machine or something. I do also have a trap bar, which I will use for in place of a frame, which I don't have, or farmer's handles. I don't have farmer's handles, but again, I just use that as sort of like a recreation of being in the position that you'd need to be. Right, space. What do you need? Now, most barbells are 7 foot long. You need a minimum length, in my opinion, of 9 foot. You need a foot either side so you can load plates on. If you tried otherwise, is it doable? Yes. Is it easily doable? No. Here we go. I have a ruler here. This is a foot ruler, 12 inches. Now, so I've got this much space either side of my barbell on which to load stuff. This is where I'm using my 7-foot barbell, which I use most of the time. As I did say though, my axle is 6 foot, so when I'm using that, I've got more space for loading. But we're going by the rule of a 7-foot bar for now. So this much space either side to load. Now, if you were in an 8-foot long room and you had a 7-foot barbell, you would have that much space to load. Now, depending on how big your arms are, or how wide you are, how big you eventually get, that is going to become a bit awkward. Also, if there should be a trip or something, or you squat low, it goes off, the barbell is going to have like that far to fall before it dents into your wall and scrapes your wall to pieces. So ideally, as I said, for a 7-foot bar, you want 9 foot of length. If you've got a 6-foot bar, you can get 8 foot of length. But like I said, you take the length of your bar and you add 2 foot onto that. Now for me, as I say, personally, I probably couldn't train comfortably in a smaller environment than that. When I did start training, before I got a 7-foot bar, I did have a 6-foot bar, and the training and the room was smaller. It probably was closer to 8 foot, but again, I had at least had that space either side to allow. So if you're gonna train at home and you know that there is a spare room, and that room is, you know, too cold to be a bedroom, no one's interested except for you, just be aware, if you're going to train from home, allow yourself an inch either side of your barbell. So yeah, There we go. Now, in terms of width, now you will need at least the width of your bench when it's folded out. Most benches, I don't know, somewhere between I'd say 4 foot is probably the average, but I would also say 4 foot, in my opinion, well, for me, definitely, is too thin. You need a little bit more width than 4 foot. I personally am 5'10". Now, if I was to lay down flat in the width space I have, because I've got a bit of space which has been cut off, just over about a foot and a bit, because I've got like a unit thing there with like a display cabinet-y thing. So that takes up about a foot or so of space. This, from the end of that to the wall, takes up maybe, say, 4 inches. So I would say 5'7" minimum. Now, depending on what you do on the day, you probably don't need all that length of space. If I'm doing some lower body work, if I'm not getting the bench out, basically, if I'm not getting the bench out, I'm not getting in the rack, I don't need as much space. Probably somewhere to a comfortable 3 foot, 2.5 to 3 foot, to be exact. Somewhere between 2.5 to 3 foot of space. That will do for standing, but if you want to bench out, then forget it, you need more. So again, personal opinion, and this is in regardless of what length of bench or anything like that, I would have at least 5'7". If you need to, though, if there absolutely is no other way about it, maybe 5'5". Maybe you can work it in a 5'5" width. Again, you just have to be aware. You have to allow for the width of your rack, if you've got one, and the surrounding spaces. So, yeah. So, length, for a 7-foot bar, length, 9 foot, width, 5'5". But 5'7", if you had that extra couple of inches, it would always help. Now, the big one to think about is the height. Now, I personally would say you want, again, it depends on your height, but what you've got to allow for, you've got to allow for overhead. That's what the height's for. So, take how tall you are and put your hands above your head, and then there's my elbow. My elbow is just above my head height. Elbow's just around there. So, take a measurement stick for allow for there. So as I say, this is a foot long, so that's over to there. So already for 5'10", I've added a foot. That's 6'10", 7 foot. I would say for the average person, 7 foot of height, because it's not just the height of you when you stood up with your hands. You've got to allow for the height of the plates that are added onto the implement you're pushing over your head. So let's say you've got, here we go, mistake. So you've got one of these, 25 kilogram bar. Again, this is basic measurements. We've got, what we got, about 7 inches. So you're taking the measurement from the hole to the end of the disc, because that is the bit that's going to get to the ceiling. Now, if you do it at that way, but it's touching the ceiling and you're not fully extending, use smaller plates. Your 20 kilogram plate is smaller than that. Your 15 kilogram is smaller than that. Your 10 is smaller than that. You get the point. So you can just get smaller weights. Let's say you got a 15 and a 10 instead of a 25. You've got a little bit more breathing space now from the height of the the height of you plus the height of the tip of the plate and then the ceiling. So there we go. There it is in a nutshell. My personal beliefs on minimal space required so that you are able to perform exercises safely with enough room, with enough space that you're not causing damage, unless you're not doing your exercises properly, of course. So there we go. That is it. Length of the room 9 foot, width 5'5", but realistically and always a little bit more helpful, every inch matters. 5'7" would probably be more what you'd be after. Height 7 foot. There it is. Right, well, as I say, there's going to be a load more videos coming up. Keep your eyes peeled on the plans for Iron Grit Strength. Plans are afoot. It's just getting them into alignment. Right, that is it. Off we go. As always, and everyone, keep strong, keep happy, keep healthy, and I will speak to you all later. Ta-da.